Welcome and thank you for joining me. My name is Arianna. Today's video is going to be about channeling or connecting with the higher self. I mentioned in a previous video about this idea of channeling the higher self and receiving information that way. So I'll go ahead and share a little bit about how I've learned to do this, and it's really something that we're already doing all the time, but we just may not be aware of it or able to receive the answers that we're looking for. So I hope that this will help you feel more connected to the part of you that is transcendent beyond the human experience, beyond time, and sees all possibilities in any given moment. So how can we receive guidance directly from Source, from the higher self, without seeking answers outside of ourselves through other people or other things? The most helpful thing you can do is to become aware of your awareness. Spend time in meditation as a daily practice. The more you practice presence as a discipline, the more present you become overall in your daily activities and interactions with other people. It's just something that, regardless if you are making an active effort to connect with your higher self or not, can help you achieve peace of mind, can help you feel more clear in your direction in life and aware of the decisions you're making as you go throughout your day. So that's the most critical step to becoming one with your higher self and being able to embody that fully. The second step is to pay attention to external nuggets of wisdom and synchronicities that you notice as you go about your day. You might have a question weighing on your mind and you happen into a conversation about that exact thing, or you stumble across a video or happen to pick up a book that addresses the very topic that you had on your mind already. This is the higher self's way of letting you know on an external level what you are looking for if you're not necessarily the most present with yourself or don't feel like you have the answer. You might find those things pop up for you in an external fashion. So paying attention to when those things come up and noticing that is a way to acknowledge the higher self when it's reaching out to you, and you'll start to see more and more of that as you pay more attention to it. So again, it's really about where you're putting your focus. If you're focusing on the solutions that arise in your direction, you'll notice them. If you're focusing on the problems, then you're less likely to notice the opportunities and solutions when they do come up. The third tip is to strive for balance in everything that you consume. Because we have a physical form, all the things that we put into our bodies have an effect of some kind. Ideally, the foods we eat should be free of chemicals, additives, hormones, preservatives, anything that's unnatural. The more fresh and healthy the ingredients are and in the way that they're prepared, the better. It is up to you to find a balance while still enjoying life and feeling healthy. I want to talk for a moment about substances, and by that I just mean things that we put into our bodies that aren't necessarily food or water. Pharmaceuticals, recreational synthetic drugs, and alcohol all affect the chemistry of the brain and therefore the consciousness through which we are perceiving life. Consider holistic approaches whenever possible, and always make an informed, autonomous decision weighing the pros and cons of a pharmaceutical if it is deemed medically necessary. Recreational synthetic drugs and alcohol are a personal decision, but in relation to connecting with the higher self, observe the efficacy and the strength of that connection without using these substances versus the days immediately following use of these substances. And from your own observation, notice whether those things are supporting your connection with your higher self or not. Active channeling. Communicating with the higher self is really communication with the heart, the inner guidance that one has, the source of creativity and inspiration. It is the voice that encourages acts of excitement and expansion, and that creates a strong aversion to any act of self-destruction or entrance into a dangerous situation. So, to receive direct guidance, start by setting aside time to cultivate stillness within the mind. And have a journal and a pen handy, because it's helpful to write these thoughts down as they occur. You can begin by asking a question in your mind and writing it on a blank page while you wait for an answer to arise. Then sit with this with an open heart to receiving. The answer may come as a single word, a phrase, a string of images, sort of like going on an inner journey. And at this time, you don't have to write everything down unless that is the way that you feel you're best going to continue in the experience. But if it feels better for you to simply sit and receive, continue to just allow whatever it is to come through, go on that inner journey, experience what that feels like, and pay attention to the information that's coming through. And when you feel that you've received and sat with that for whatever length of time feels appropriate, then that's the time to record your answer. So if writing wasn't your initial way of receiving, go ahead and take that time now to write down whatever it was that came to you. So you might be asking, how do I know that this answer is coming from my higher self versus the ego? My answer to this question comes from my experience and my personal truth. The feeling that you experience when receiving an answer from your higher self is generally very encouraging and very based in truth. I think you can tell the difference between the higher self and the ego, because the ego will feel very doubtful. It might even be quite negative. Whereas the higher self, even if it's showing you some tough love, bringing up painful memories or things that you need to work on, it doesn't have inherently a shameful or guilty or punishing tone to it. If anything, it's rather unbiased and more so in an attempt to help you grow. It wants you to look at the parts of yourself that you need to address maybe before you're ready to receive the answer to the question that you're asking. So that's how I differentiate, if I even have a doubt in my mind, of where the answer is coming from. And the higher self is there to guide you because you are it and it is you. So it really is coming from your heart and the inner truth of who you truly are. It is simply an honest mirror attempting to help you grow into the next version of your aware self. So then the next question you might ask is, well, why didn't I get the answer to my question? All I got was this. You can only be revealed an answer which you are truly ready to receive. The higher self will present the next step that is critical to your self-understanding. Look deeper, it says, or have fun, it says. And while that may not be a direct answer to the question that you asked, it is giving you the answer that you need. Let's say, for example, you had a question about a career move or about something you want to pursue or some pain you're working through, and all you can think about is food. Well, okay, so maybe your body needs food. Maybe it just so happens that you've always been inspired to be a chef, but you've never pursued that. Who knows why, but if the thoughts that you're thinking are leading you towards some other end that may not seem related, but it still is drawing you in a pleasant way, in a way that feels really good, then follow that thought and take it as the answer, because perhaps that is leading you to the next discovery that is most pertinent to your growth at the time. If you still have that question and you don't feel like it was answered, come back another time, another day, and ask it again. Sit in stillness a little bit longer and see if you're getting the answer that you are looking for. It may not be direct, but that isn't how the higher self works. So, am I making all of this up? You might be asking yourself, especially while you're receiving the answer or in trying to write it down or in thinking about it after the fact. What's the validity of this at all? What's the science behind this? And the truth is, in short, yes, you are making it up, but life is a dream. Consciousness is without form. True spirit is without ego. You make up your own identity every single day when you wake up. You decide who you want to be. You also make up every sentence you speak in your daily conversations. So why is this any different? Why do we have a difficult time accepting something that is subjective to oneself? This is all about you. The higher self is you, so you are in effect talking to yourself, and the answer that you are receiving is coming from you. Can you be okay with that you are making this up? The ego is truly the one asking that question because it's concerned with preserving its standing within a society as a rational, functioning member of society. If you did not wish to receive guidance from your higher self, then where are you receiving your guidance from? And do you feel guided at all? You're here at this video and you're going about this practice likely because you do want guidance from yourself internally. And I'm providing this information from my own experience because while it's helpful to learn from other teachers and study wisdom traditions, nothing really beats talking with consciousness itself, God itself, whatever you refer to the higher self as. It's the ultimate version of you, and you are the direct link to Source. You have Source within you. So this is your unique channel. It's not going to sound necessarily like something that you have heard before, and you don't need to compare it to, does this sound godly enough? Does this sound wise enough? It's a humorous and uncanny thing, consciousness. So it will appear differently for you because you are unique, and this is your higher self speaking to you. On integrating guidance and embodying the higher self as a lifestyle. So once you've practiced this a few times, perhaps many times, you'll start to get the feeling that it's possible to do this at any time, anywhere, and you're essentially receiving guidance on the fly, which is awesome. That means that you're beginning to embody your higher self. This is presence. This is what living with presence feels like. This guidance has always been in front of you all the time, but now you're operating at a frequency and conducting your lifestyle in a way which is conducive to receiving the information and putting it into practice. So it shows up as following your bliss moment to moment and in executing ideas into physicality through divine inspiration. It shows up as speaking the right words to communicate with absolute clarity and authenticity. You begin not only to receive guidance in real time, but begin to implement it in real time as a conscious practice. By doing this, you are embodying the higher self, and you are the vessel, the being that is here to carry out your purpose for coming into being. You still have sovereignty, of course. In fact, you've always have had sovereignty. But now you're able to make better use of it because you aren't bound by the limitations of the old ego. In fact, the ego has been reshaped and is constantly evolving to reflect the new intentional personality that you wish to share with the world. You are in control of the ego is not in control of you. When you are present, you are aware of what's going on for the most part, and if you have moments of unconsciousness or ego coming up, then those moments become far fewer in between. and you have more lucidity and direct intention with everything that you do. It will never be completely without flaws, but because of your level of self-awareness, you can at least perceive them now and do not identify ultimately as the ego itself. It never ends. Communication with the higher self never ends, and as long as you continue to live a human life and walk the journey, the higher self will have guidance to offer. Remember that you have free will, and you can make your own decisions, and the higher self is going to respect that, because it accepts you for who you are and it's not there to control you, but it's always going to be there to provide guidance on the level that you are ready to receive at. Infinite pathways are always available, and the higher self is simply there to show you the most direct path to self-discovery at any given moment.